I simply can no longer stand this unwashed world in which we live. I simply won't tolerate this unwashed world in which we live, and I'm finishing this game so I don't ever have to play it again. Are you ready, everyone? We have to go clean a lost goddamn city. Thankfully, we know people who own a plane. And no wonder the lost city of Atlantis was lost. It was apparently in the Pacific, which, yeah, probably didn't help. Yeah, I guess this is a culmination of the game so far. Just straight up a lost palace, huh? Oh, I can walk up the sides, that's good. Well, I'm going to the very top. And, that doesn't look great. My name is not wishy-washy. Harper, you're the one who picked my name, Harper, aren't you? You shouldn't be changing it at this point. Sorry, this place smells like shrimp cocktail to you? This might be roulette, you know that, right? So yeah, I guess that does explain all of the cats at the marina. Oh, you actually managed to get out here without a bunch of stowaway cats. Well, that's good. There's probably gonna be like some sort of blood sacrifice that's gonna have to happen while we're here. It's not gonna be anything major, but I'm just preparing for the worst, you know? Gotta say, the Three Fingers enhancement isn't really all that helpful against, most stuff. I guess it'd probably be helpful against, like, oil, but there's not terribly many huge oil patches. At least, not that I can see. The wind sure is something all the way up here. Gotta say, despite my total and complete control over gravity, I'm, not really a fan of heights. Hitting the ground is, pretty awful to contemplate, actually. Oh boy. Well, at least for the final level, we get to clean, like, a big pyramid from the top down, you know? Like, I can think of no more fitting conclusion to this game, honestly. Just a nice big shape to hose down. I bet the inside is going to be incredibly annoying to clean, just now that I've complimented it on how satisfying the outer shape is. Like, just because the devs want to mess with me, you know? But come hell or high water, we're finishing this game today. I feel compelled. There's not even any music. That's how compelled I feel. Driven. What if we do extra long and the green nozzle? About the same results. Extra long and yellow does something, but I don't think it's really gonna do anything but leave a bunch of phantom stains. This may in fact be the one level where this fork attachment is incredibly useful. Or I could be setting myself up for the biggest headache in the world later. That's also possible. Alright, fell a little bit. We're not gonna let that get us down, but we're gonna stop cleaning there for a little bit while I recover from the absolute terror. For a moment, gravity was real. And it was all too close. I have no idea what a pyramidion is, but that seems pretty important. It's at the top, after all. Generally speaking, the important things in pyramids are either at the top or the bottom. So we've got the pyramidion on top, whatever the hell that is. And I assume, you know, at the bottom we'll have a bunch of corpses. People love to fill pyramids with corpses. Honey sometimes too. Though I don't know if mellified man was ever real. If you're not aware of what mellified man was, supposedly, back in the day, when people needed a real powerful medicine, something that would really cure all, they would have someone subsist on nothing but honey for a couple of months, until their whole body was saturated with honey and the only thing they excreted was honey. And then they would mummify that person in honey, supposedly, in order to create something called a mellified man, which they believed to have, you know, miraculous healing properties. Now, like many facts about mummies, this is something that can basically only be corroborated by British guys. Probably didn't know what they were talking about. So, you know, who knows to the actual reality of the situation? It's pretty difficult to actually know if this ever actually happened, because it seems like a pretty extravagantly difficult thing to do. And if we had evidence of it happening, you think it would you know, it would have turned up by now. So I believe the general consensus is that it didn't actually happen. And it was just some guy basically making shit up for fun, as the British were wont to do at the time about basically anyone. Maybe that's what'll be inside of this pyramid. Find a big old hunkus bunkus of mellified man, and we can have a taste. Because, you know, in theory, you could probably simulate what mellified man was meant to taste like by, like, dry aging pork in honey for an incredibly long time. But at the end of the day, I don't think that's really going to do anything that's going to, like, cook the pork. I think the pork is probably just going to get gross and slimy, or maybe, like, crusty, depending on what the ambient temperature is. You know, it's not like ceviche where you've got an acid in there to somehow cook the pork, you know? Yeah, binging with Babish is always doing, like, the easy clickbait food. Someone needs to get him on mellified man. You know, really challenge the guy to step outside of his comfort zone. I bet in the dark universe where everyone has, like, evil goatees or whatever, that's probably what cooking shows are like, honestly. They just straight up teach you how to mellify a man, you know? I certainly haven't been to any of the goatee universes, because the goatee universes are made out of antimatter, I'm pretty sure. So, you know, if I go there, we're all gonna be in for a real bad time. well, not me specifically, but if anyone made of matter goes there, it'll be a real bad time. I'm not made of matter, I'm made of gunk, which is scientifically distinct. Sometimes slopped, you know, depending on local ordinances. Gunk is illegal in some parts of space. Wow, Mount Rushless does not look good. I sure hope that somehow by cleaning off this lost city, I save my hometown. Because it's beginning to look pretty bad. Like, I hate to be a cynic and a naysayer, but it is in fact looking like the town of Buckingham is going to be wiped off the map. And if those time travelers were in fact time travelers and being truthful, so is the rest of the planet, actually. Just like literally the rest of the planet is going to be completely and utterly consumed because the Pacific volcano chain is just gonna go off. Which, you know, of all of the ways that this could have ended, it's not the way I would have assumed. You know, I would have assumed probably like one of those ice caps or something like that. Everyone makes such a big fuss about them on the local airwaves. As a sixth-dimensional being, I have no comment because the thing that actually destroys the planet is both funny and confusing. Telling you guys about it wouldn't really help anything because it's not anything you can do anything about. Actually, depending on when they broadcast this back to, you know, it probably won't be relevant for a while. Actually, you know what? Let me try something. If you want to take a shot at preventing the apocalypse, tell your scientists to stop inventing paints that are more of a color. Because the most burgundy starts some real fucking problems. The most burgundy causes, well, again, I can't tell you, but basically all of the problems that that happen from then on. But, you know, I don't think that's probably going to help anything. You know, if you think about it, the audio experience of being near the ocean is basically like hearing a pressure washer. Both of them produce large amounts of water. I think I'm gonna avoid the scaffolding unless I absolutely have to use it and just kinda clean this wall from up on it. That seems like the safest option to avoid the phantom dirt splots that vex me so. Unless, of course, I start having to clean large areas at once. That might be a little bit of a goddamn pain. There we go. I think I found a good height for cleaning off these pyramid walls. Except for the, like, downwards lip between the wall panels. Never mind. That's so cursed. I hate all of the tiny downward lips that are hidden everywhere. I know that's realistic to real power washing, but come on. Well, you know, my readout says this is a palace. I'm wondering whose? Because again, the running theory is still that this is really it, you know? Also, hello and good morning. It's more of this fucking game. I promise, next stream will be something different. I'm gonna take a break for a little bit, and it's gonna be something that isn't power washing. How are you this fine morning? I gotta say, I do like the color choice on this pyramid. Turquoise is a pretty good color. I'd be turquoise if I wasn't purple. Also, hell yeah, congratulations on the lunch. I just had breakfast, and I had a stuffed crust pizza for breakfast, because I'm a very mature and healthy dog. So, it's a good morning for me so far as well. We'll see how annoying this pyramid ends up being to clean, because, I'll be honest, if it's as bad as the boat, it might be a bad morning, actually. Yeah, chillunching. I discovered today, actually, that Dairy Queen technology has improved quite a bit since I was a kid. For the very first time since I was around 6, I ordered a dirt and worms, like, thing from Dairy Queen a couple of days ago. And they have actually managed to make it so that gummy worms no longer get, like, uncomfortably rock hard in ice cream. Like, gummy worms used to be so awful to get in ice cream because they would hurt to eat so badly. But now, like, I don't want to be like kids these days, but kids these days have it so easy now that they've figured out how to make gummy worms not be awful when they put them in, like, desserts. I only bring this up because the Dairy Queen was part of yesterday's breakfast, now that I'm just thinking about food. I basically just teleport one bag of fast food a day from a random person on Earth onto the ship. So if you ever don't get your DoorDash and your driver can't tell you why, I'm sorry. Yeah. No, like, they have gummy worms that don't get bad and frozen yogurt. They have gummy bears. They have mochi that doesn't turn into styrofoam. Like, there have been improvements in dessert technology in the last 20 years. Which is wild to think about, because you only ever think about, or at least I only ever think about it in terms of, like, console generations and TV resolution, you know? Which I guess is a very streamer attitude to take about the world. Measuring the progress of the world in console generations. I feel like it was a bit of a cruel decision on the part of the developers to make large amounts of the surface of this final level the same color as the show dirt function. That one feels like design TM. See, like, it feels like it's really easy to view the world in terms of console generations and TV resolution. Because, like, what was the real piece, like, what was the last piece of real progress that anyone noticed other than, like, their phone being able to do something weird this year, you know? Like, you get a new phone every year, or if you're rich, you get a new phone every year. I've had the same phone for the past 3 centuries. But you get a new phone, and you find out that your new phone can do something weird. Like, it can take filter photos of your face that make you look like a dog, or it can let you pretend to be a dog. You know, lots of dog-related functions on the new phones. And that's it. And it's just like, wow, that's progress. My phone has 4 cameras on it now instead of 1. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? I guess I can zoom in on the moon. That's always an option nowadays. It's weird, humans dedicate so much time to avoiding going to the moon and like making horror movies about why we don't go to the moon anymore and being afraid of the moon. But you also keep developing better and better cameras so that you can take pictures of the moon and Bigfoot. And let me tell you, if you keep getting cameras that take better pictures of the moon, you're eventually going to get better pictures of Bigfoot. He lives up there. Really, I've always felt you should respect the guy's privacy, but that's just me, you know? A little discouraging every time I look over to the level progress up there in the upper left. Better not be 100 fucking like weird knickknacks inside that I have to hose down. Bigfoot had cloaking technology. You see, it's hard to capture a Bigfoot on camera because he's actually constantly emitting gamma radiation that messes with the photo sensors. Not many people know this, but he's just constantly emitting ionizing radiation, and cameras have a really bad time trying to record that most of the time. All the Bigfoot hunters are going after him with like better resolution cameras and all that stuff, and like setting up night vision trail cams. And that's actually making it worse because they can image a lot more of the radiation coming off of Bigfoot. If you want to get good solid imaging of Bigfoot, you're actually going to need something a little bit like an electron microscope. Something a bit like an electron microscope and an ungodly amount of patience. Yeah, this is definitely looking like relief from the shell above the entrance now. I'm gonna ignore that. That would be really bad to have as like a persistent hallucination. Just a constant Bigfoot that you see out of the corner of your eye. Like, I accidentally downloaded a desktop assistant once, and it made a little monkey appear in the corner of my vision that would just talk to me constantly. And that was pretty bad. But if the monkey was 9 feet tall and, you know, Bigfoot, I think it would probably have been a lot worse. That's kind of the danger of getting cyber eyes, you know? You don't want to be able to get eyes that a virus can download itself into. And basically any cyber eye, you know, you might accidentally get a little monkey fellow that wants to talk to you. I feel like any second I'm going to look down at the beach down there and I'm just going to see like the protagonist from Dear Esther hallucinating letters. You know, it's easy to rag on Dear Esther as a bad game, considering that it's very much one of like the first sort of artsy-fartsy games that existed. But I still think that game has plenty of merit and deserves a break considering how old it is. So I'm not going to make fun of it too much. But I am, again, every time I'm looking down at the beach, expecting to see someone down there having a melancholic walking simulator sort of time. Something about the wind on top of this pyramid. Not sure where the last blip of dirt on this palace wall could be. I have a feeling that's going to be a running theme in this level. Wait. Is it the fucking stupid little lip all the way up here that's causing it? Huh. For once it actually wasn't. That's... Never mind, I was about to say that's worrying because I thought I was going to be there for another 10 years. As I usually am when that sort of thing happens. This is an immaculately well-preserved Atlantean ziggurat, I must say. Like, I don't know what an Atlantean ziggurat is supposed to look like, necessarily, but this seems like it's doing pretty well for just being out here in the middle of the ocean. I don't know if necessarily it should be lost, though. Like, this seems like something that a satellite could probably see when it passed by. I don't know, maybe all the volcanic smoke was covering it up or something. Yeah, we'll just assume something like that for the benefit of this universe's NASA, you know? I always try to give space programs the benefit of the doubt. They try so hard. Ah! Down I go. I guess I'll have to go get the scaffolding then. All right. God. Gonna have to be a proper job. Gonna have to actually try. Can't just stiff the Atlanteans and take their money. I get it, I get it. There we go. Might as well get the rest of the front of this facade while I'm up here. Grumble, 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 grumble. You know, at least the grime on this thing isn't like particularly difficult grime, you know? It's mostly just the same stuff that's been on like the intermediary levels and not a bunch of like oil slicks and like glue. Could have been oil sticks and glue. And the tri-tip actually works remarkably well when I actually have the power washer at a bit of a range. I'm beginning to think that that's actually the intended use for it, and you're not meant to actually blast everything from point blank range with the most powerful power washer you own. I know that that's an interesting sort of revelation for me to come to this far into the game, but yeah, you can learn something new every day. All right, one wall down. Onwards and onwards. Not going to be surprised if Cthulhu rises out of this place once I'm done here. Just gonna ask him for payment like any other client. Excuse me, Your Majesty. Please step out of the way. I wouldn't want you getting injured by my power washer. Well, at least this ancient civilization had some taste. They got lawn gnomes. That's all. That's all you need to have good taste, lawn gnomes. Wonder if the extra long extension will just let me blast that thing from all the way down here. Yep, it totally will. How far do these things actually go? Yeah, wow, I have a lot more range on these things than I first gave myself credit for. It's actually doing a respectably quick job, too. I just gotta go back over it with the fan. Alright, I'll move the scaffolding, I'll stop being... Your Majesty, I'm so sorry. I don't know if I can right him, so I will simply place him out of the way of further mishandling. To pay disrespect to the King of Lawn Gnomes would be a grievous error indeed. He has more power than you could ever know. He won't hesitate to use it. A lot of intricate detail on this shell feature for it being so far away. There we go. Hey, you know, at least this level I'm not wrestling with the goddamn autocorrect. Autocorrect? Autocomplete. I guess I'm still wrestling with the autocorrect because I said autocorrect instead of autocomplete. I'll have to find a technician to take a look at that in between streams. Top part that's still dirty? What exactly is still dirty on the pediment at this point? Ah, I see. Up here. Little itty tiny bits. Just all around. Great. Okay, a little closer at the scaffolding, please. Yeah, I guess the owners of this ancient civilization are going to be annoying sticklers, too. Dig. Nope. We're gonna play this game again, huh? Okay. Fine, Power Washer Simulator, I'm game. I'll play this game until you release me. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care who I have to wrestle. Who I have to bite. How bad your autocomplete is, I simply don't care. There we go. Ugh. Always hard to defend moments like that as part of the intended enjoyable gameplay loop, because if those are intended, it's not fun. But you know, again, it might be trying to simulate having a terrible and exacting boss who you wish you could kill. Everyone in Muckingham has been either stupid or thoroughly unpleasant so far. Which is fine, because that means the stupid people have been very pleasant. At the end of the day, the people of Muckingham, I think, are going to be my enemy. They're just going on the list of enemies of the dog commune, I think. We've got a lot of them at this point. Yeah, you gotta keep track of stuff like that, it's important. To have a feeling that those little like grooves in the wall aren't a static texture, and they do in fact have gunk in them, but I can't quite tell. Mostly the part that frustrates me when the autocomplete gets bad like this is that I can't always necessarily tell where on the thing I should be cleaning in order to satisfy the game, because like it'll just be an amalgamation of sub-invisible pixels that don't show up when I actually press tab. If I knew what the game wanted from me to make progress, I would gladly and gleefully do it. And I will say, in some ways, this game does lose out a little bit to Viscera Cleanup Detail, specifically because Viscera Cleanup Detail does a really, really good job of letting you know exactly what still needs to be done in any given level. Like, there's no ambiguity about what is and isn't a blood splatter. You know, a bullet hole is a bullet hole is a bullet hole when it comes to Viscera Cleanup Detail. Which is the only other cleaning simulator I can think of, which is pretty funny. There's House Flipper, but House Flipper's cleaning elements are nothing. Yeah, like, part of the reason why I don't really spring for the challenge mode of this game is specifically because, like, in the challenge mode of this game, you are technically timed. Like, either you are literally timed in order to clean the thing as quickly as possible, or you are timed in that you will have a water limit, and that will be the challenge. And, like, with the way the autocomplete in this game kind of works, like, the challenge mode isn't fun for me. I just have I have a slightly higher sense of urgency because it's hard for me to sit still for especially long periods, and this is my second time playing this game. The first time through, I could spend 5-6 hours just relaxing, cleaning. This time around, I just want to, I don't know, see what happens in order to stop the apocalypse. Because there is still apparently an apocalypse hinging on this power washing job. Not quite sure how. There we go, I think. No? There we go. Alright. Getting on another side of the pyramid. I think a big pyramid was probably a pretty good choice for this final level. Because, like, the actual sort of kinematics of cleaning this pyramid, where I can just kind of run up the side and, like, spray down it at an angle to get most of the stuff, is a lot of fun. Like, it gives me a very visible and tangible sense of progress to be able to just completely blast stuff by sort of walking down the wall like I am right now. Even if it is, again, leading me to wrestle with the autocomplete. There we go. Get all the grime and muck off the wall. Get all the weird ghost blotches that your brain tells you the game won't care about, because oh boy, does the game care about them. There's nothing the game cares about more, in fact. I guess part of my problem is I feel that at a certain point the sort of ambient wetness of the surface would take care of these little grime splotches, but they can't really model that satisfyingly. Like, I feel like that would probably add a bunch of back-end work, and I don't know if I've already said this before, but I would love to see the math that actually goes into determining, like, whether or not certain substances get clean. Like, is the dirtiness of the level just a texture that they apply hitbox zones with health to, and then the pressure washer does different damage based on its pressure? Can they change the dirt that's on a level? Do they have to make each level dirty in a bespoke way, or can they just, like, ask the computer to make the level turn into dirt, you know? Like, they still have to hand model every level that they put out, which takes a lot of work. But do they also then have to model all of the dirt on top of it, is what I'm wondering. It's how they did the blood in Killing Floor 2. They just had They had a texture version of the map where everything was covered in the maximum possible amounts of blood, and then that texture mesh just got turned on when things bled on it. I'm wondering if it's a similar situation there. I'm sure the devlogs actually talk about this, I just haven't bothered to actually read or watch any of the devlogs for this game. I didn't actually want to get spoiled on a lot of the content that was in the devlogs because I, for some reason, actually wanted to go into this plot spoiler-free. And I gotta say, I didn't expect it to take a hard left turn into, you know, finding the lost city of Atlantis after encountering some time travelers who came back to the past to fucking discover what red velvet cake is like. Well, I mean, and also ostensibly prevent the volcanic eruption. That seems kind of secondary to them, if I'm being honest. You know, the apocalypse seems maybe like top 15 on their list. Like if I had to stay. All right. Got that figurehead. Learning all sorts of fancy architectural words. Learning what a pediment is today. It's whatever the hell this thing is. Oh boy, are there yeah, there's separate chambers to this place. Ugh. Well. Can't get freaked out by the insides while the outsides still aren't cleaned. Oof. A little bit of vertigo as I walk backwards up this pyramid. Who'd have thunk it? I'll be honest, I'm going to feel really silly if I hit my time limit for this morning's stream and then have to come back here yet again. Especially after I did something so bold as to name the stream the finalist Wetness, you know? I was wrong. This Wetness is never nearly as final as I think it's going to be. Perhaps it's an ironic, hellish punishment for banning that one guy who asked to play the game with me. Even though, again, don't do that. If I want to play a game with people on stream, I'll reach out to them. Being in chat is not a good way to hang out with me. Unless, like, I know you. In which case, like, you can post hole in my chat for all I care if you know me. You probably get banned, don't get me wrong. But you can do it. And it won't be a ban from me, I must clarify. Just like in general. Yeah, that's the problem. It is a banger of a title and I would be wasting it. to disrespect it like that. But more than 2 hours of this game a day does make my brain feel like it's turning slowly into fucking pudding. Especially when every surface seems to want to fight me with the autocomplete. I like to hear the noise. Make the noise. Do the noise. You know what noise I mean. Ding. Ding for me. Ding for me, my angel of power wash. Alright, now, this is ridiculous. I'm just gonna keep hammering the tab button. Maybe I'll be able to see the one fleck of dirt that is causing this wall to not count as completed. Get every last smear on the bottom here. This game, for being billed as a game that's supposed to be a relaxing cleaning simulator, it begins to test my patience in ways that I did not think possible. Let us now use the hand of God to punish the barnacles. You know, I hate to be unpopular, but it's almost enough to make you miss Todd Horchner, isn't it? Oh, hey, Cal. I know what's going on. Rushless is about to erupt and we're all gonna die. Hugs and kisses. Oh, the entire Pacific Rim? Weird. I wouldn't know anything about that, honestly. What do you think you're going to do, exactly? Like, realistically speaking, Cal, if the Pacific Rim decides to blow, like, what are you gonna do by being on top of Rushless? Because I can tell you you're not gonna, like, use geology to stop the explosion of every seaboard. Like, I don't think that that's something that you can do. Might as well just buy all these clothes while we're here. I mean, have a good view, I guess that's reasonable enough. You know, I'm actually now wondering why I'm not joining Cal on top of Rushless so I can, you know, have a good view, as you have said. Guess we'll get a lot of good scientific data on what's happening, you know? I don't know, it's just if I saw that on the horizon, I wouldn't start running towards it, you know? I would assume that, like, the superheated smoke and volcanic fog would be fatal to me. I guess geologists built different. Possibly literally. Maybe Cal can inhale fog and exhale fresh air. We don't really know about any of the potential mutant powers of the people of Muckingham. Alright. All of this phantom dirt down here. Come on. I know barnacles are stubborn, but you guys have to come off eventually. Dare I try? That most blasphemous and unholy thing. Cleaning liquids. Yeah, the original Power Washer Simulator had a story. It was mostly just people texting you as you worked on jobs and being like, hey, let me tell you this little thing about Muckingham. But over time, it did just kind of turn into this, like, story about the volcano and the town's millionaires and all this stuff. So, like, they always had the people sort of talking to you over time as you worked. But the actual, like, deeper plot line only came in, like, late updates, basically. You know, they had you start, like, cleaning, like, you know, the millionaire's jet, and it was like, hey, why does this jet have a laser on it? And it's like, oh, I have a laser on it for reasons, don't worry about it. and then you clean off the digger, and it's like, oh, why does this digger have smears of ore on it? And it's like, oh, don't worry about it. And then you get all the way up to like that time machine job from last stream, and it's like, oh, why does the time machine have smears of that mystery ore on it? And it's like, oh, we're involved with that somehow. It's kind of evolved over the course of the game's early access. And it's almost, like, the game has been sort of, like, very closely released almost with the cooperation of the community. Because I believe a lot of the earlier jobs were just straight up voted for by the community. Because the devs of this game have, like, a really active Discord, to my understanding. And they're, like, pretty responsive about the game on Discord. I know apparently they asked another streamer who's much more famous than me, RT Games, to do a stream where literally he and a couple of his friends just power washed some stuff in real life. And that was just a stream they did in order to promote the 1.0 and like the Steam release. They actually ended up spending most of the stream having to be very, very careful. Because power washers are dangerous in real life, and you know, like the second that you see a power washer blast a hole in something in real life, like it's really easy to remember, like, oh yeah, power washers fuck people up really badly. Yeah, no, you have to respect power washers completely and unironically, and I'm not talking about like the people who are doing the power washing, though you should respect them as well. But the flow out of like a industrial application power washer can take your finger off. That's not a joke. I know I've said that a couple times now, but it bears repeating because like, you know, power washers and hydraulic tools and pneumatic tools can seem like fun to play around with just because like, oh, ha ha ha, water gun, ha ha ha, air gun. And then people just fucking die because they're not being careful, you know? So don't mess around with industrial tools. They're industrial tools for a reason, you know? Seems like common sense, but a lot of people have died from putting like pneumatic air guns up their butts, so. Slowly but steadily, this damnable pyramid gets cleaned. Yeah, now that I've sort of learned the technique for the God Hand, which is to stand way back, it's actually a great deal more useful than I thought. It's a shame I can't get 3 of those spiral tips to attach to the end of the God Hand. Then I would have maximum coverage and maximum power. I could do literally anything if I had 3 of those spiral tips on the end of this bad boy. I think they actually specifically added this nozzle because there were like a decent number of complaints about how like there didn't really feel like there was enough end game upgrades, because I've already talked about how it feels a little bit strange how there's not multiple upgrades of each tier. Like there's not multiple power washers of each tier for some reason. But then on top of that, like you get to the last power washer and there's really not anything special that comes with the last power washer. Or at least there wasn't until they added the hand of God here. Yeah, see? Just right down the side. I'm actually feeling good about how quickly that went. As long as I don't get hung up for a million hours by all the tiny bits of dirt left behind. Guess we'll fucking find out. Well, you know, it's probably a good thing so far. Now that I'm sitting here looking at this build and thinking about it, it's a good sign that it's not dark green. Because if it was dark green, I would take that as a much more certain sign that this was a Cthulhu-related object, you know? And I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I have the greatest odds against Cthulhu with the power washer. Sure, you can run a boat into the guy and he won't like that, but power washer doesn't feel like an alternative to having a literal boat to hit the guy with. And I don't know if our new power washing clients will let me use theirs. I guess if push comes to shove, we'll find out. You know, when people are staring in the face of Cthulhu, their opinions on whether or not they're willing to crash their boat into Cthulhu change rapidly. Yeah, there's also the point it's not non-Euclidean enough. Though, you know, non-Euclidean for whatever, like, the pop culture definition of non-Euclidean is. I know, like, mathematicians get all pissy about the phrase non-Euclidean because it technically doesn't mean what pop culture means, but it's not like I've ever cared about the opinions of mathematicians. Mathemagicians, however, those guys can do all sorts of things to all sorts of exponents that you didn't even know you had. There's sort of a grim finality to it as I clean off this temple, I must say. I can't shake the feeling something bad is going to happen when we finish cleaning this thing off in its entirety. There's the laser that shot out of that statue, but I feel like if a laser shoots out of this thing, it's going to destroy the planet. And then I'll have to be that power washer who destroyed the planet. Oh, there's an octopus on this. Okay, so it's not really, yeah. Because there's an octopus here. They wouldn't put an octopus. They would put, like, actually Cthulhu, you know? They don't really like it so much when you confuse the two. Don't make me come all the way up there, damn you. They're gonna make me go all the way up there, of course. Never mind. Maybe the autocomplete will be oddly generous for once. Or never mind, I do actually have to go up there. Whoops. Come on. You can do it. I believe you can do it. We'll do it. Make the noise. What about over here? There we fucking go. Maybe I should actually be using the shorter extension with the Hand of God so that I actually get the like blob coverage at a closer range. That might actually be a little bit more effective, yeah. Like a lot more effective. Wow, jeez. Getting there. Might even get there by the end of the stream, God willing. I could talk about H.P. Lovecraft, but really what is there to talk about? I like a decent number of the guy's stories. Cold Air is one of my favorite, even though it displays a lot of his very obvious sort of Red Hook era racism, because he was living in an apartment in Red Hook at the time, and the most horrible thing that he could think of was the fact that he had to share an apartment building with Spanish people. because he was kind of a rotten guy. But Cold Air, I think, has a good concept, which is, you know, the main character's neighbor is a doctor who seems nice enough, but he's very neurotic about specifically keeping his air conditioner on and keeping it as cold as possible. And over the course of the story, I am going to spoil Cold Air now, so if you care about spoilers for H.P. Lovecraft's works, cover your ears. But over the course of the story, a heat wave rolls into town, and the doctor's air conditioner, which is like an old ammonia pump model back before, you know, like proper air conditioners were entirely in vogue. You know, it was a new technology, and this kind of scared H.P. Lovecraft, so he wrote a story about it. The doctor's ammonia cooler actually breaks down, and he basically asks the protagonist and a bunch of the protagonist's friends, like, oh, please, 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 can you get me, like, some ice and help me keep my apartment cold until I can send for the handyman to fix my ammonia cooler. Please send for the handyman as quickly as possible. And over the course of like a frantic couple pages of the narrator, you know, going down to the local corner store, getting ice, bringing it back, going down to the local corner store, getting ice, bringing it back, like there starts to be this really weird, horrible smell coming out of the doctor's apartment and all this stuff. And then eventually the story culminates in the protagonist going into the doctor's apartment after, like, everyone else has run away. Like, the maid has seen something in there so awful that I'm pretty sure, like, she's gotten a permanent gray streak in her hair. Like, something horrible has happened after the protagonist is sort of waylaid on his way back to the doctor's apartment. And he's not quite sure what it actually is until he gets into the apartment and he sees that whatever is left of the doctor has crawled its way into the bathtub and basically has been laying in the bathtub melting in the heat wave. And he actually finds out by looking around the apartment, and he gathers from context clues more or less, that the doctor has actually been dead since even before he moved into that apartment, actually. And that this particular doctor, like, when he talked about his experimental, like, techniques for staving off death and preserving life, he was actually referring to the fact that he had turned himself into, like, a cold air fucking science homunculus, where as long as he stayed beneath a certain temperature, he would never die. But, like, by the time the protagonist, you know, gathers all this and finds him, the guy has, you know, melted away into a bathtub full of dude slime. And like a lot of H.P. Lovecraft stories, it basically ends with the protagonist having the horrifying revelation and then just being like, hey, isn't that fucked up? And that's the end of the story. But I think it's kind of noteworthy among H.P. Lovecraft stories because I believe it was written, you know, it was written while he was living in his apartment at Red Hook. So it was back when he was a wagey, basically. He was working, you know, writing short stories for Weird Tales and other, like, syndicated magazines in order to, you know, make money. So not every story could be like this indulgent, highbrow passion piece about, you know, the fungi from Yuggoth and how they creep feculently from beyond Pluto's moons and all that stuff. Sometimes he just had to write like a weird, creepy story about a doctor who did some fucked up mad science and became a flesh jelly homunculus man. Yeah, the hustle period, exactly. H.P. Lovecraft legitimately had a hustle period with a lot of his novels where, like, he had an editor he was working for, and his editor was just like, all right, Howard, just fucking give us something to put in the weekly edition, please. And, you know, it shows a lot of his sort of clear influences from the time, because, you know, fear of new technology and fear of new people, because H.P. Lovecraft had just moved into, you know, the sort of slummy area of New York at the time, or at least what he conceived of as the slummy area of New York. And he had literally only ever lived in, like, Providence, Massachusetts before. And he was the kind of guy, like, you know, his mom wanted a girl so badly that for a couple years of his young life, she dressed him up in girl's clothes and only referred to him by a girl's name. Which is not necessarily, you know, it's not... It's not inherently bad to have a weird gender, because I have a weird gender and it's been pretty great for me. But on the whole, I don't think your parents should dress you up like an action figure in order to recreate the child they don't have, you know? It's not the same thing, I don't think. I don't think there is anyone bold enough to yet argue that H.P. Lovecraft was trans, based on the fact that his mom put him in women's clothes a lot as a little lad. But, you know, he went from that to immediately moving into the fucking big city. So I can only assume the guy, like, basically immediately lost his mind because he saw, like, Spanish people for the first time, you know? It's entirely possible, given racial striations at the time, that it was, like, the first time he had seen quite a lot of people of quite a lot of different races, actually. And I think that freaked him right the fuck out, and so he wrote a story about how the scary Spanish doctor downstairs was gonna get him with his crazy air conditioner. So I think it stands as a horror story, but it also, you know, gives us a window into H.P. Lovecraft's weird little mind. All right. We're inching ever closer. Yeah, I think, the protagonist goes out of their way at one point to be like, I was surprised at how well-mannered my next-door neighbor was. I expected him to be quite horrible because he had a Hispanic name. But actually, he was quite normal despite the fact that he was Hispanic. You know, just one of those weird asides that H.P. Lovecraft kind of peppered throughout his writing, so that anyone trying to make a movie out of his work 10 years later has to make a difficult choice between adapting the name of his cat faithfully and being able to actually make the movie, you know? Everyone laughs about ha ha ha, say the name of H.P. Lovecraft's cat, but he did name his cat a racial slur, and, like, the guy's racism does overshadow a lot of his works. I can't sit here and talk about the guy without noting that H.P. might as well have stood for hate's progress. That said, I do think he also contributes a lot to one of my preferred genres of Lovecraft's story, which is one that I feel like people kind of forget about because they've kind of... I feel like people overblow the hopelessness of H.P. Lovecraft's stories a lot of the time, because a lot of his stories do end with the protagonist like going insane and like running into the woods or whatever, you can still kill Cthulhu with a boat, you know? That's pretty good news for humankind, all things considered. Like, if you run a boat into Cthulhu's head, it'll blow his head up and he'll start growing back. But that just means you gotta drive the boat back through him again. Like, there are a lot of early H.P. Lovecraft stories, like the Dunwich Horror ends with the protagonist killing the Dunwich Horror with dynamite, you know? So there's a decent number of the guy's stories where he also is oddly hopeful about our chances of being able to deal with the giant invisible cow-eating slug monster that lives in the attic. It's just a shame because, you know, if it's not really that easy to find, like, stories around the theme of hopeful Cthulhu. Like, that's a very specific, almost oxymoronic theme. Come on. Slowly but surely. I'll get all the little bits off this wall. Then you'll have no choice but to go ding. Because I'll have cleaned the whole wall. Yeah, like, that's the thing. A lot of the stuff in Cthulhu's stuff, like, is old and big and incomprehensible, but I feel like a lot of that overshadowed the fact that, like, they threw dynamite at it and stuff, you know? Come on, Palace Pyramid Wall. Don't make me switch to the soap nozzle. I will, if I must. Wow, the cleaning liquid doesn't even help all that much. Is there something I'm missing here? I'm mashing the tab key now, in the hopes it will make me understand what the problem is. Ugh. Is that all the big patches done? Yeah, it's looking like that's all the big patches done. Time to fucking head inside, I suppose. You know what? I'm just gonna start using cleaning liquid. I've earned a little break. Yeah, I'll just soap down the entrance. You can't stop me. Blasphemy, I know. I said I would never ever use the soap tip and that the soap tip was for evil people, but we all change. Now watch this wall end up taking like 9 hours because I decided to use the soap tip and create all these tiny little dots. And actually, I'm going to use an extra bottle of soap to make sure that doesn't happen. Okay. Here we go. Kinda gotta start moving inwards. I guess I could go to the second floor, theoretically speaking. Yeah, I'll head to the second floor, I guess. Top down is how I've been doing it so far, no need to deviate. The ancient civilizations may have accounted for my power washing style. I haven't looked at the statue, Harper. But now that you pointed out, I feel like I probably should. You know, that's a heck of a question, Harp. I'd say it feels like Muckingham is gonna be destroyed soon. And I'm too busy thinking about that. That definitely is a statue of me, though. You can tell because it has a power washer. I think. Not really sure what else that could be. So I'm gonna say that's probably a power washer. Maybe I'll be able to clean this whole ceiling without even having to go get a step stool. That would be nice for my last level. They didn't make me get the fucking step stool for once. But you know, I could only ever be so lucky, honestly. my luck, I'll have to do an angled shot while crouching on the very top of the scaffolding in order to get the final bit of schmutz off the light over here. Right. Short gun when using the fork. Dum-da-da-dum. Sure hope the mayor's cat hasn't been consumed by Vogue. Sure hope my elderly mom and dad that I've never mentioned before now haven't been consumed by Vogue. You know, with that big plate up on the ceiling, I'm willing to bet this is probably something to do with those goddamn time travelers. I bet they did something ethically questionable. Got me spread all across the timeline like peanut butter. Gonna be getting a visit from the time cops in a few months to talk about my omniversality and how it's not really technically legal. I'll have to explain that there were some idiots in a magnet disc who decided the only way they could fix a volcano was to infect an ancient civilization with the idea of me. God. Real pain in the neck, you know? Probably shouldn't hammer tab too much while I'm inside of a giant place full of dirt. Burn everyone's eyes right out of the socket. No. Extra long, thank you. Oh hey, that wasn't awful for once. I'm beginning to feel hope. We might be done before the sun burns out, folks. How do you get a ceiling this dirty? Like, even with all the volcanic activity, like, if this place was underwater, how do you get a ceiling this dirty? I want to know. Like, is this place secretly located under the Atlantic Ocean's fucking septic system? Is the Atlantic Ocean dropping all of its gunk into the Pacific Ocean to get rid of it? You know what? I'm gonna treat myself by using some more cleaning liquid. Yeah. This is what owning a power washing business is all about, having enough money to waste all of it on cleaning liquid. I really hate how much faster this actually is going, though. Like, a lot faster. Oh, boy. Yeah, no, quite literally making it rain. Now I feel like I'm falling for the cleaning liquid scam, you know? This is how they get you. It makes life so much easier, and then you have to keep buying it and keep buying it. Well, see if I can make money faster than I burn money. It looks like I literally might. Oh, and we got a bunch of murals up here. I bet these murals are... Yep! Oh no! They're about me! Oh god, what did those time travelers do? They are gonna get me got by the time cops again. I say again, it technically hasn't happened yet. It's, you know, whole thing. Alright, gonna use my cleaning liquid a little more sparingly. So I can knock this out faster. Free myself from the grip of the power washer. It has told me I am not allowed to put it down until all is cleansed. Until all is soapy and clean. Who am I to deny the will of the washer? No one. Such power would be beyond me. Even if I was not held in the thrall of the power washer. I'm liking the interior lighting that this temple appears to have. Maybe shouldn't have fixed the drill. Cleaning the drill doesn't seem like one of those acts that you guys should memorialize or commemorate. That one seems like one of the ones that was actually a fuck up on my part, if I'm being honest. Because I did help that guy get away with, I think, drilling into the volcano and possibly getting us all killed. And they haven't caught the guy yet, so... Kinda hard to assume I didn't just help him get off scot-free. I wonder if the stubby gun makes this more effective, because it actually covers a larger spread. I think technically it might? Yeah, it's looking like it does. But there is actually a pressure loss with the cleaning liquid for some reason. So you have to account for that even when you're using the pay-to-win soap. I say, as if there is something to be won from this game. It's really not pay-to-win if you're not getting anything out of it, I suppose. Ugh. Huh. So you guys do know about the laser that was on the jet we cleaned as well. You know, I'm beginning to think those time travelers could have stopped all of this if they had bothered. That's the thing with time travelers, though, you can't rely on them for anything. Like I said, if they tell you something, it's because they know you're gonna die or something like that. A really annoying piece of behavior they've basically all got in common. Beginning to dawn on me, we may in fact need to have a finalerist wetness than even this. I don't know how you could have a wetness more final. A dampness more all-consuming. The stream has, once again, almost been going for 2 hours. And we are only halfway done with this job. I'll have to research a new form of matter to get even wetter than I am right now, you know? Like, at this point, wetterousness is purely hypothetical. In order to actually achieve it, it's gonna take a lot of R&D hours, you know? Pretty sure wetterousness is possible, but you know, it's just a lot to ask. I guess I could probably talk to a demon or something. A demon would probably have the kind of forbidden knowledge I need to get wetterousness. New exotic forms of matter required to make water too. Oh yeah, the mayor's house and his boat. It wasn't a lion on the front of it though, it was definitely just his cat. I guess I can't blame them for embellishing the historical record a little bit. Especially when it does make me seem a lot cooler. Makes me seem like I hung out with lions, which is, I must emphasize emphatically, not the case. Just for actual historians writing my biography, who may or may not be watching this video. I did not hang out with lions on the mayor's houseboat. All this other stuff, though, is more or less right. I did, in fact, clean somebody's bungalow. Carousel. I'm gonna be really honest. If the Helter Skelter is anywhere in this temple, it's going to ruin the value of the temple, in my mind. Like, this place is worthless if it has that pervert's fucking Helter Skelter anywhere on the walls. He's had it since literally 1984. It's creepy. Like, it'd be one thing if he was, like, trying to do a hipster thing, where it's like, ooh, yeah, the Helter Skelter sucks, but, like, it's kind of cool, you know? We're reviving it to be retro hipster. Like, that would be one brand of awful that I could deal with. This guy has been clinging on to the dream of a profitable Helter Skelter since the 80s. And I refuse to believe that the town of Muckingham has been making his Helter Skelter profitable that whole time. The good people of Muckingham may be stupid, but the Helter Skelter is stupider than even they should tolerate. Nay, I believe the Helter Skelter is stupider than even they could tolerate. Dirty fucking ceiling. this mural wall right here, I'm not sure where it could still be dirty. Even as I'm spamming the highlight dirt button. Okay. It seems like the autocomplete is just like randomly calibrated for every object. I genuinely don't feel like there's any rhyme or reason to when it just randomly decides to be incredibly bad. And just fucking break my teeth in. Maybe that bit right there will be the one that does it. Or that bit. Or that bit. Maybe if I put on the long extension. Maybe if I use the hand of God. I'll be honest. I'm on the verge of insanity. I'm on the cusp of turning into the Joker. I'll show you the society we all live in. One where a regular old power washer has to be trapped in a temple in the Atlantic in order to make a living. It's a sad, sick world. You know what, Power Washer Simulator? As I sit here, feeling the silences grow, with nothing to fill them. It's like the sound of the waves, the rumble of my pressure washer. I begin to wonder if I'm truly strong enough to see this through to the end. I've saved time travelers, and yet those self-same time travelers cannot give me back the time that I have spent scrubbing poop tornadoes off of temples, hosing down flying saucers, having to explain to people that no, my name isn't wishy-washy, and fucking Harper is not a representative of my business. I've had a lot of time to ruminate on the waves. And though I would like to hold on, though I would like to finish this game now, give you all the satisfaction that I'm sure you so direly crave, like I direly crave. So that way we may be free together of Power Washer Simulator. There is simply a problem we must confront as I sit here and I contemplate, as I wonder why I ever even spent money on this game. 90 hours into it. Well beyond the point of sanity, if we're being perfectly honest. I'm faced with a simple, immutable fact. I don't have enough time to finish this game today. There's so much more to this last job than I thought. When I saw it was $2,000, I was hoping it was just a bunch of high-value stuff. But no, it's just legitimately a very big job. And I am trapped here. Like it is, in fact, Roulier. So I actually have to quit for the day. I have to be done. And I have to say, I guess I'll see you all next time when we come back for the finalist Wetness. Thanks for coming out to the stream, everyone. I hope you have a good day. Kiss your loved ones, because tomorrow they might be asked to power wash a temple. And you'll never fucking see them again.